Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio NBA Closing Time Show for Friday, February the 5th. Last show of the week for me, and I'm happy about that. As I said just before the show began, done a lot of videos this week, a Super Bowl week, so more than usual, but that's all right. I enjoy it, but my voice is just, I can feel it in the throat right now. I've been talking a lot this week, which is saying something for me. But nevertheless, we've got our Friday NBA card ready to break it down with Skee Profit and Conor back. A reminder that if you missed our prop show, tune in or go back and watch it from yesterday. It was on Thursday afternoon with us and Donnie. Gave a lot of good prop bets for the Bucks and the Chiefs. We'll also be back Sunday one last time at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, our season finale of the NFL Closing Time Show on Sunday. We'll talk mostly about the side and total. It'll be a 30-minute show. Won't be too long. We'll focus more on the actual side and the total and review our props at the end. So join us for that on Sunday. Guys, NBA, I'm rocking the best bets right now in college basketball, but I'm lost 2 or 3 now in a row on this NBA show. So I've got to turn it around when it comes to the best bets here on the NBA show. Hopefully we can do that tonight, at least me personally. So let's get to it. We'll start with Chicago taking on Orlando. First game on the rotation. We've got the Chicago Bulls laying 2.5 on the road. That has been bet up from -1. The total 224.5 in this game. I think I'm going to keep this pretty simple. Chicago's in the price range where as long as they're not laying moderate points, they're just being asked to win the game or they're an underdog catching points. I'm interested in the Chicago side. And I think this Orlando team is just absolutely dismal right now. It's been a horrible run of basketball for this Orlando Magic team. They've fallen all the way to 8-14 on the season. You know, playing at home has been nothing great for Orlando. 4-7, both straight up in ATS at home. You look at this team on this awful stretch where they're 2-8 in their last 10 games. The only wins were that miracle comeback against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then after that, they ended up losing in overtime to Indiana and winning. And that's other than that, not a lot of quality performances from this Orlando team. Steve Clifford's voiced frustration with the way the Magic are playing right now. It's just a team that I trust a lot more in Chicago. They're coming off losing the second of the 2 games against New York. They won the first, they lost the second. I think you'll get the Bulls bouncing back here with the win. I mean, I know the number's gone up. I laid about $1.25 on the money line earlier today with Chicago. I would still recommend them at 2.5. I just think I've bet the Chicago team a lot, cashed a lot with them. They've got a good point spread record on the road, and they're just a team that's playing better basketball and in better form than this Orlando team that's just in a complete and utter free fall right now. So I like the Bulls to get the victory here. Skee, what do you think here? Chicago, Orlando.
Yeah, I understand. I don't think there's any team in the league that hasn't been playing better than Orlando lately. And the Bulls, a lot of people will talk about the Bulls on the road. I mean, a lot of those games, they weren't a favorite. They're 0-1. Sorry. They're 0-1 as a road favorite. So I don't really want to lay points, but at the same time, Orlando's just so bad. That's the only way I can look. So that's the way I'll go in that game, I guess.
Yeah, just a small lean for Skee with the Chicago side. Sounds like it's a lesser of two evils situation for Skee with the Bulls and the Magic here. Conor, what do you think? Chicago, Orlando?
I agree. The Magic has just been horrible lately. Like 7 of 8. A lot of these have been at home. You know, they haven't played well. And another one tonight. I talk about how I hate laying it with the Bulls, but I'd give a slight edge to them. And I'd give a little bit towards the over. The Magic games have been getting over. I think this one can get over the total, 218 here. So, or actually, sorry, 224. I thought it was 218. I still think it can get over. I lean this way. I haven't bet it yet, but I probably am. I think the Bulls play loose. They're going to score plenty, and I think it creep over.
Yeah, this is one of those games for me where there's a bunch of games from an over the total perspective that stand out to me. This was a lean to me for the over, but I don't know what Orlando is going to do offensively. They've had a tough time at that end of the floor. So, but I understand what you're saying. And Chicago's certainly one of the faster paced teams in the NBA, and defense sometimes a little suspect with them. Utah taking on Charlotte. Next up, we've got the Jazz, 8.5 point road favorites, 223 the total in this one. You know, I took Charlotte plus the points against a team that's comparable at least to Utah, Philadelphia the other night, and it is a game that, look, Charlotte came all the way back, and depending on when you bet it, you might have won, you might have barely lost, or you might have pushed with Charlotte, because it all depends on the number you got against the Sixers. But let's be honest, and I had a piece of Charlotte there. Very fortunate. I had +7, so I got a push, but I was very fortunate. Philadelphia controlled most of that game. I think they kind of fell asleep in the fourth quarter. Charlotte, valiant effort to bounce back, but I'm not sure I'm ready to go back to the well with Charlotte here in this game. We'll see how Utah fares going into Charlotte, but Utah certainly has bounced back after seeing their loss. The loss to Denver, which snapped that win streak. They played better the last couple of games. Looks like PJ Washington going to be out again for Charlotte, and that's significant because you look at Charlotte this season, they're 21st in the NBA in pace, and yet the last game without PJ Washington when they played Philly, and all of a sudden that game had the 6th most possessions of any team in the NBA, in terms of their most recent game. So there was a significant spike in the pace that Charlotte was playing without PJ Washington on the floor the other night against Philadelphia. Utah, I think, should be able to score against this Charlotte team. Charlotte's been trending over the total lately, so I mentioned liking some overs tonight. This is one of them, Utah-Charlotte from the over 223 with the Jazz and the Hornets. Skee, what do you like here? Utah taking on Charlotte.
Yeah, I look the other way. Neither team, most of my stuff I look at is how teams have been playing over the last week or so, and neither team has been playing very fast. Bottom 10 in pace over those last 5 games, and both teams have been pretty solid offensively, but the Jazz, they've been really good on defense, and I just think the pace won't be there for there to be this many points. The number I have for the game was 219.5, so I will take the under in this one. Charlotte has been under 7 of their 11 home games. The Jazz, they're on a back-to-back. They went under every single game on second of a back-to-back this year. That's 3 unders, so I like less points.
All right, liking the under in this one, Utah and Charlotte. Normally, I would say in normal circumstance, most of the season, in fact, Charlotte's only, below middle of the pack pace-wise. It's just I noticed that jump last game without PJ Washington on the floor, and that's what made me take notice. But that's a good stat you made about Utah with their totals on back-to-backs, that they've been really trending under the total. So something to consider there. So pick your poison. I like the over. Skee likes the under. Conor, what do you like here? Utah, Charlotte, side or total?
I see this one close. I like the side a little bit, getting 8.5. The Jazz have just been playing so well. I think they're playing above their heads too. I think they're a good basketball team, but I think they're streaky. We saw it the last year, maybe even the last 2 years, these teams go on these runs like this. I still lean towards the under, but I can see what Skee's saying. The Jazz have won a lot of games, doing well, holding teams to about less than 100 and winning. 114, 98 games like that. Kind of like game last night with the Hawks. So they've had a ton of games like that. But on the other hand, the Hornets have been trending over. They've been run over lately. So I still lean towards the over 223, but I like getting the 8.5. I like the home dog, so I'll take the 8.5 in the Hornets.
All right, getting the home dog, Charlotte Hornets here, 8.5 in this one for Conor. New Orleans taking on Indiana. Next up, we've got a huge move here. Indiana opened a 4.5-point home favorite. They're down to 1. They're just laying a single point now here on their home floor against New Orleans. Total in this one has been bet up from 225.5 to 228.5. And I understand that move in the total. I'm not sure I understand the move in terms of the side in this game. I understand the Pelicans, have been, at times capable. They beat Phoenix, and they beat me. That was my best bet the other night, was the Suns, and the Pelicans took care of business 123-101. Is this the kind of team, though, you trust now going on the road off a win like that? I'm not so sure. Road performances for New Orleans have been less than stellar. That's putting it mildly. They lost by 17 to the Lakers. They barely beat a pretty poor Sacramento team, got blown out twice by Utah. Pretty hard to lose by 10 on the road at Minnesota, but this New Orleans team managed to lose by 10 at Minnesota the last time they were on the road after these now they're going back on the road after these last 5 home games that they've played. I worry about this spot, and I know Indiana's kind of gone through a little bit of a rough patch. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. They lost the second against Charlotte, lost to the Sixers, and then, of course, got blown out by the Milwaukee Bucks in a pretty tough spot. for Indiana in that game, losing 130 to 110. It was not a good scheduling spot at all for the Pacers. It kind of smells like this is a get well spot, for Indiana coming off that game against Milwaukee. You look at their injury situation. You're always wondering about Miles Turner's status lately. He's going to be good to go. It's just the same two guys that are out, and they've been out for a while, Karis LeVert and TJ Warren. Other than that, you look at the Pacer injury report, it looks like all hands are on deck and available tonight for Nate Bjorkgren's team. So I'd expect Indiana to go out there, get the victory. And now you're just laying a point and a half. I think Indiana gets the win. I also like the over. They've lost some value now, but you look at the over recently with both of these teams. Skee and I talked about it on Wednesday's show. The Pelicans are an over machine now after starting the season, trending a little bit to the under. They've cashed the over at a 7-2-1 clip in their last 10 games. And you've got Indiana now as well on a crazy overrun themselves, 8-1 over the total. The Pelicans, rather, in their last 9 games. Indiana is 3 straight overs in their last 3 games. So you got both teams trending over. New Orleans, I think, will give up some points tonight. Pacers team total, I wouldn't talk anyone out of that either. So Indiana and the over for me against the Pelicans in this one. Skee, what do you like with New Orleans, Indiana?
Yeah, I agree. I've been looking at this one, and I haven't played it yet, but I'm probably going to. I don't understand really. I thought maybe somebody was out for the Pacers, or I just don't know why the line would move that much. New Orleans, they're 2-5 as a road dog. Pacers, I mean, I think they have some pretty tough competition. I think they'll do better in this game versus New Orleans. And I always talk about New Orleans can't play a complete game. They played one. That was their last game. I'm not sure they can continue to do it every game moving forward. So if they can prove me wrong and show me, that's what they're going to have to do. So I'll take Indiana. And I look at New Orleans. We talk about their pace speeding up. Indiana's playing at a fast pace. The over is 12-7 for New Orleans after a day off. Over 12-6 for Indiana after a day off. I like points too. So Indiana and over for me as well.
All right, we got consensus. Skee and I liking Pacers and over. Connor, what's your take? Pelicans, Pacers.
Yeah, they get the hat trick. I like the Pacers too. I think it's a good bounce back spot. Only laying 1 at home. It kind of scares me a little. I'm like seeing that. It's like it's too easy. They just got to win the game here. The Pelicans have been playing better. They have been scoring more. I look towards the over too, but I think the number is kind of spot on at 228. It's more of a lean. I didn't bet that. I just like the side more in this one. Well, I think it gets over. I think it's right there, 229. I had this at 228, so I don't know if I'm going to get there on the total.
Yeah, if this was one of those nights where the NBA offered like a grand salami, like in hockey, where you can bet all the games combined over or under total points, I might take a grand salami over on the NBA board tonight, because I think there's going to be probably a lot of points in some of these games here tonight, including this one with the Pelicans and the Pacers. We could see points in this next one with Milwaukee, because they are just lighting up the scoreboard, and they're going to break it at this point with the number of points they put up the last few games. Milwaukee taking on Cleveland. Milwaukee 10.5 point road favorites in Cleveland, total 227 to 228 in this one. Now, they have preached about playing better defense, the Bucks, since they had that little tete-a-tete over the weekend when they had those terrible back-to-back losses to New Orleans, the aforementioned Pelicans. And I think people actually look at that too. Pelicans beat Milwaukee last week at home, that maybe they're turning it around, but as to why maybe New Orleans is getting bet against Indiana here tonight. But their offense has been unstoppable here, the Bucks, and we know they can definitely score the basketball. They've done that 134, 130 in their last 2 games, both wins and covers against the Blazers and the Pacers. Can they keep it up here against Cleveland? The bottom line with Cleveland is I've drank and I've intake all the Cleveland Kool-Aid I can, and it's starting to make me nauseous. I'm not feeling good, chest pains, the whole bit. I'm not ready to take another sip right now of that Cleveland Cavalier Kool-Aid tonight after what's happened with them the last few games. Not to mention now you got Colin Sexton questionable with a neck injury tonight, so he's going to be a game-time call. You'll have to see if he's on the floor at shoot-around. That's usually when you find out these things, and we'll have to see if he plays. That would be obviously a concern for Cleveland. And albeit Cleveland struggling to score against the Clippers, Milwaukee, I know, can sometimes flip the switch. It comes and goes for them at the defensive end, as we've seen this year. But, you worry without Sexton, and if Milwaukee does, show up on the defensive end, which is something they've preached about the last few games, where are the points going to come from consistently for the Cavs when they really got shut down, particularly late second half, like toward the fourth quarter against the Clippers the other night? Boy, that offense just stopped. It just came to a screeching halt against the Clippers, and you maybe worry about that here against Milwaukee. So this is one game where I don't have much of a strong opinion on for me with the Bucks and the Cavs. Skee, what do you think here, Milwaukee versus Cleveland?
Last year I would look at Milwaukee when they would play. I don't know. I look at them this year. They're 2-7-1 against the spread as a road favorite. I feel like some of those spots last year, they would have covered more of them. I don't like this team as much this year. And Cleveland, they're 6-3 as a home dog. And it's tough because Milwaukee, ever since that speech, they've been locked in. And I think you're going to continue to get effort from them. But at the same time, I just think Cleveland is not that bad. If Cleveland comes to play, if you get Sexton in the lineup, I think they can cover. If Sexton's out, I think it gets ugly for Cleveland. So that's the way I play it. I got to look for Colin Sexton's status.
They play again tomorrow, these two teams, actually, the Bucks and the Cavs. And I'm hoping Milwaukee kind of romps them tonight, because if they romp them tonight, Cleveland might be sitting in a good spot and a good bet tomorrow in the rematch, because Milwaukee may not be as interested the second time around playing them. So that's definitely something you want to potentially keep in mind going into this game, because they're playing Saturday night as well in the same building, same two teams, that maybe if they romp in this game, be a little bit lackadaisical, just do enough to win the next time they play Cleveland tomorrow night. So something to keep in mind. Connor, what do you think here, Bucks, Cavs?
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, that they play tomorrow. So, and it's all about, Skee just mentioned Sexton. If he's in, I lean towards taking these 10.5. But since the rah-rah speech, I've been behind the Bucks. They've had a couple easy beatdowns and overs. I don't like this one as much. Sexton's out, I'd lean towards the Bucks, even at this huge price. It's crazy. But if he's in, I'd grab the 10.5 with the Cavs and take a shot. I think they could hang. Like we said, at home, they're at least a little bit better. And I think they play better. They haven't played well. I know you've been on to me, and it's been driving you crazy. But I think soon they'll get right and get better. And Sexton's just got to stay healthy. He's just too banged up, constantly. He's got to be in, I think, consistently, all the time. So, or at least regularly, so they get the flow. He's been in and out with the injuries all year, so it's been tough to bet on them consistently. So he's in, lean with them. If he's out, I lean with the Bucks, or just stay off this one, because it's a big, big number.
Yeah, you know what? I would, if I'm a bigger staff, I say, we're playing this team tomorrow night. Why rush him if he's questionable, 2 hours before tip-off like we are right now? Why rush it? Why push it? Sit him tonight and bring him back tomorrow against Milwaukee. I'm hoping for that anyway, because I'm not touching Cleveland. I worry that he plays and they cover and I'm not on them and I get pissed off all over again. I don't want that. But I'm hoping rest him tonight, get him back in tomorrow, because I'll be on Cleveland in that spot if that's the case. Next up, Toronto and Brooklyn. We've got the the Nets 5.5 point home favorites, 239.5 the total in this one. This is one of the games on the Friday ESPN menu tonight, the Raptors and the Nets. Brooklyn, boy, oh boy. I mean, this team is just a firecracker right now offensively. Holy mackerel. 132, 147, 146, 124 in their last 4 games. The game that offensively made me take note of the Nets was the last game, because you can say what you want about scoring 132 against Atlanta, or you can certainly not really bat much of an eye about them scoring 146 against the Wizards, who don't play a lick of defense. But when you put up 124 and shoot 45 of 79 from the floor against the LA Clippers defense, albeit Beverly's out, and that's, of course, arguably their best defender on that Clipper team, I take notice and I say, you know what? Things are starting to mesh now with this big three with Durant, Irving, and Harden. So yeah, definitely Brooklyn has got their offense rolling right now. They've clearly still struggling at the defensive end of the basketball court. There's no question. Steve Nash has been, talking about it. Hey, we got to shore that up, but it's not exactly always smooth sailing for them at that end of the floor. And you put the two factors together, and this over the total run for Brooklyn is insane. It's to the point where until you actually see either the totals come down or you start to see some unders cash in for these Brooklyn games. How do you get to the betting window to take an under right now with the Brooklyn Nets? It's very, very difficult. I am on the over for a little bit here tonight at 239.5. I don't think the Raptors defensively are going to be, able to contain this Brooklyn team. They've declined defensively this year under Nick Nurse. I know they played well, won and covered against Orlando, but Orlando's just not. You compare Orlando offensively to Brooklyn, you can't do that right now. It's like night and day. It's like two different planets of basketball going from playing the Magic to the Nets offensively. And let's not forget that before that, the Raptors give up 126 to Sacramento, 129 to Indiana, 115 to Milwaukee, and all those teams shoot, close to or above 50% field goal percentage against this Raptors team. So I don't trust them to slow down Brooklyn. I'd lean to the Nets here a little bit. It's coming off that big win against the Clippers. So that's the one little hesitancy about, taking Brooklyn here -5.5, because they're coming off the huge statement national TV win against a fellow contender in the Clippers. So maybe it's a letdown, but I don't know about that. And even if it is, I don't know if Toronto's defense can hold up against the Nets. So I'm just going to stick with the over here, 239.5 with the Raptors and Nets. Skee, what do you think here with Toronto taking on Brooklyn?
I think that the number doesn't scare me because the number's been this high and they continue to go over anyway. And the only thing that scared me about this game was they play Philadelphia tomorrow. And I was initially thinking that they're going to care more about playing the Sixers than playing this game. But this game is national TV and tomorrow is not. So I think that they'll come to play tonight. I think that we'll probably get majority of the stars in for Brooklyn. So for that reason, I still think that we get a lot of points. But I don't like the Nets in this one. I like to fade teams that are at home and that are rested, and they won their last game as a favorite, but they had to come back to do so. That's the Brooklyn Nets today. Teams in that situation only cover 32.7% of the time. So I'll go with Toronto, and I'll go with over.
All right, liking the Raptors plus the points, and also over 239.5 in this one. OG Anunoby, by the way, out for the Raptors tonight. And I know he's improved his offensive game, but boy, defensively is really where you're going to miss him tonight in a game like this against the Brooklyn Nets. So I think the absence of OG for the Raptors is actually good if you like points in this game. Conor, what do you think? Raptors and Nets?
Yeah, he's out, and the Raptors aren't very good defensively this year. They've given him a ton of points. So I'm with you. I know this went down to start the day, but you're seeing a little bit of uptick. I got it at 239.5. Now I see a few 240s basically everywhere. I still think it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's like 15 out of 16 they've gone over. I mean, it's just how in a spot do you go against that? I'm with Skee here a little bit. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm leaning towards the Raptors. The Nets have struggled to cover these numbers, like 5 to 7 in this space. They've won a ton of games, just barely not cover the spread, or even outright lost, which they did the Wizards. They were probably going to lose that game or win that game by a few points if that all didn't happen. Yeah, but I haven't bet it yet, but I like the Raptors a little bit. I wish to get a couple more, but I wish it was 6.5. But even at 5.5, I like the Raptors a little bit here.
All right, we got Minnesota and OKC. Minnesota opened a 2-point road favorite. Pretty much pick them now. We've seen the money come in on the Thunder here. The banged up Thunder right now, 220 the total. We mentioned on Wednesday Shai Gilgeous-Alexander not playing for the Thunder. It didn't matter in the second of the back-to-backs against Houston. They rolled past the Rockets in that game, but it was a little bit of a tricky spot for Rockets. Remember, John Wall was rested in that game as well for Houston. So OKC took advantage of that, and they were just annihilated the first time they played Houston. So good bounce-back spot for them there. I don't know if I trust a follow-up to that here for OKC. And Luguentz Dort, too, also out and not going to play here for the Thunder. And look, I've lost some money now, a couple games in a row, 3 in a row, in fact, fading Minnesota. You know, they've been at least markedly better the last 3 games. I wouldn't say it's been a great run, but they beat Cleveland once at home, 109-104. They covered in defeat against Cleveland in the rematch in Cleveland. And then against San Antonio, who are coming off 2 really bad losses in a row. You know, I thought Spurs are going to fire back strong with a big-time effort against Minnesota. And if not for a furious rally in the fourth quarter and DeMar DeRozan going nuts in that fourth quarter, Minnesota might have won that game. They led the Spurs wire to wire before the Spurs caught them down the stretch and won that game 111-108. And again, it was another point spread cover, 3 in a row for the Timberwolves. So I'm done fading Minnesota for a while. I'm putting the stop sign up tonight. No more fading the Wolves for me. In fact, that's the side I'd lean with, as crazy as this is to say, because I've been so anti-Minnesota most of the season. But you look at OKC, I know they blew out Houston, but they're missing key players at both ends of the floor. Dort's an elite defender. SGA is their best scorer by far. And that worries me in this game against Minnesota. So I'm a little perplexed by the movement here toward OKC in this game. And Minnesota's perked up. And maybe they're a little bit undervalued from a point spread perspective because of their struggles earlier in the year. Keep your eye on the status of D'Angelo Russell. He's questionable for Minnesota tonight. But nevertheless, I'd lean a little to the Timberwolves now in this matchup. Skee, what's your thoughts? Timberwolves taking on the Thunder.
It's a game that I really do not want to bet. With Gilgeous-Alexander out and maybe Russell out, I'm honestly just not interested. If they're both in, I would look towards the Thunder. So maybe if they're both out, I still look towards the Thunder. Thunder have been better offensively. They've been a better rebounding team. But like you said, Minnesota lately has been a little bit better. So it's a game I'm going to pass. I'm not going to play.
All right. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm passing too. Minnesota is just the smallest of leans for me, but I do like that they've covered 3 in a row. And maybe it's momentum that can carry over here to this one against a shorthanded Thunder team. Connor, where do you stand here with Minnesota versus OKC?
Yeah, this one's a pass. With Alexander out, OKC is a pick 'em. I don't want Minnesota's played well lately. I've took them a few times this year. It's been hit and miss with them. They'll get Karl Anthony Towns back soon. I think they'll start playing a little bit better. Yeah, I don't like this. There's no real betting edge in this game. It was a quick pass to me, and I think the total's right on at 220. No value real there. I don't see really value on the under or over with that, so it was a pass all the way around.
So I cashed an easy one, and I think Skee had it as well the other night. Houston OKC under the total. The second.
Yeah, I had it.
And I think
I got railed the first meeting.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good bet because you're right. There was shooting percentages that couldn't keep up in the first meeting, and now without Gilgeous-Alexander, you figured pace would slow. It would be tougher for the Thunder to score, but the Thunder brought it defensively, and that's the one thing that their coach Daigneault said after the win against Houston, saying that that we got to really bring it defensively now without SGA. We've got to have a team commitment to guard our man at the other end of the floor. And we saw that against Houston. So for that reason, I'm leaning under. Unfortunately, I'd like to bet under in this game again, but with Dort is like an outstanding defender on this Thunder team. And you take now him off the court, it could throw things off a little bit for the Thunder defensively moving forward. So, but my lean is the under again here with the Thunder tonight against Minnesota. Washington and Miami 7-point home favorites, 230. Someone's got to talk me off taking Miami one more time here. And I said that after the other night against Washington. No more laying points with this Heat team. No more. But here they are playing the same Washington team that I don't know what it is with second halves too with the Heat. Fall asleep. They did it against Charlotte, fell asleep in the second half, let Charlotte get all the way back into that game, and then they won it in overtime. And pretty much the exact same thing against the Wizards. Like, these second half performances are inexplicable. I'm sensing some frustration. I'm sensing some tension with Miami right now. Jimmy Butler is flapping his gums about the team is just not playing good enough right now. Bam Adebayo is talking about how things are just out of sorts, out of whack right now with this Heat team. Yet to me, this is once again is just another spot where Miami's, in theory, there's a pathway for Miami to win and cover because Washington stinks. I don't know, and I don't trust Washington to beat Miami a second straight time. But things are kind of off kilter enough with this Heat team that I'm not rushing to lay 7 with them. Not after what I saw the other night when I took them laying points and they ended up losing that game. I mean, there's issues right now with this Miami team. Sometimes it's their defense. The second half against Washington, it was their offense, which somehow got held down in the second half against one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, which was stunning to see that. It was stunning to see that Miami's shortcoming against the lowly Wizards was not their defense against a Washington team that can score. it was Washington who haven't been able to stop a nosebleed all year, and Miami couldn't score consistently and get their offense going in the second half against that team. That's what did them in against the Wizards. So, I lean Miami and I lean over, but, you talk about gun shy after the first game between these two teams. That's where I'm at. Skee, what do you think here with the Wizards and Heat, the rematch tonight?
Well, Wizards don't play any defense, but Miami's offense has been really bad. And Wizards want to play fast. Heat rather play a little bit slower. So we'll see what we get here with the total. My number I have is 228. So I guess maybe I'll lean a little bit towards the under, but it's always tough to play under in a Wizards game. As far as the side, the Wizards, I mean, they've already covered twice versus Miami. They've been, like I said, they've been playing better offensively. Neither team's been a great rebounding team, but it's a lot of points for a Miami team that's not really playing well. Only covered 6 of their last 20 games against the spread. So I would be grabbing the points with the Wizards if I'm playing this one.
All right, lean to Washington plus the points, and it's hard to debate that because Miami's just completely out of sorts right now, and disappointing because now the excuses are over. You could have said earlier this year you got half your roster out with COVID and injuries, but you got most of your guys back now. Hero's back, Robinson's in there, Jimmy Butler's back, Bam's in there. You go on down the list, all the guys that were out. Goran Dragic has been in and out. He's playing now. Like, no more excuses. You're just not playing good right now, and you can't say it's this, can't say it's that. It's your performance on the court. That's why you're struggling right now. Conor, what do you think here? Washington, Miami.
Yeah, there's no way. I was on the Wizards the other night, and I think I'm going to be on them again here. I mean, the Heat have lost, 7 out of 8, and the game they beat the Kings by 105-104. The offense has gone in these stretches Skee was mentioning where they just can't score. I mean, I know all the injuries and COVID, there was a little bit of excuses there, but the scoring went to a halt in this one. I mean, after the third, it was going like a normal game because I had the over. So I'm a little leery here tonight. It's a ton at 230, but take an under in a Wizards game, I don't feel great about it. I'd rather just pass. Watch this one, probably gets over. I don't take it. It's one of those ones, you take game one. But I'd still lean with the Wiz. I think, not that they're a great basketball team. I don't know when the Heat are going to get going. And not at this point. Losing 7 of 8. No way do I want to lay points to them. And that's how I felt the other night. And the Wizards won outright. I wish I would have had a money line ticket on the Wizards. Didn't have enough balls for that. But I'd still lean with the Wiz here.
With Washington in that one. Next up, we've got the Pistons and the Suns. Phoenix, 7.5-point home favorites here. The total is 214 in this game. You've got the Pistons actually taking some money here. Maybe it's the first home game off a road trip spot, but when you actually look at the road trip, they've only been away for 5 or 6 days. They haven't even been away from home for a full week, Phoenix, on this road trip. They played Dallas twice, and then they played New Orleans. And I was on the Suns against the Pelicans, and it was wrong side, unfortunately. And look, the quotes coming off that game for Phoenix were just didn't have any juice, was the actual quote that was used after that game by Monty Williams. It tells you all you need to know right there. It was just flat, laid an egg. Just kind of a disinterested team. They had those 2 big games in a row against Dallas. They won both of them, and then they just, kind of went through the motions. Not kind of, they did. Against New Orleans, because I saw that game. Nothing was working. They weren't getting back on defense, and that was the issue against the Pelicans. I'd expect them to be a lot better here in this one against the Pistons. It's certainly a team the Suns are capable of getting right against. The Pistons have had an ugly start to this road trip. In fact, ugly is the word on the road. I mean, you look at this team, they lost to Miami on the road, and Miami we know has been a disappointment. Atlanta, in overtime, they had a lead in that game. They coughed it up and lost by 8. They got blown out at Cleveland by 15. They got blown out at Golden State by 27. They got blown out at Utah by 12, although they covered the number, but they came from behind to cover that number. Utah was up by 20, 25 points at one point in that game, and I think kind of fell asleep at the wheel. When you play the Pistons, it's all about focus. Is it going to be there? And if it's going to be there for the superior team, they're probably capable of winning and covering against the Pistons. I kind of think that's where we're at here with Phoenix. You look at them from an injury standpoint. I know Devin Booker's missed some time lately. That's not going to be tonight for the Suns. He looks like he's going to be in there. It's still just Jay Crowder and Dario Saric, your main 2 injury absences here. for the Phoenix Suns right now. I don't mind the 7.5 here. I'll lay it with Phoenix. I think they'll play a lot better. Detroit's shown no ability to compete and hang tough in games away from home on the highway. So I think Phoenix sitting in a pretty good spot here to take the Suns -7.5. Skee, what's your thoughts? Detroit, Phoenix.
Yeah, Detroit hasn't been good as a road dog, and Phoenix has been good as a home favorite. The number is kind of right on like where I think it should be, but I probably still would play Phoenix in this spot just because I think they've been playing better basketball lately. And I don't think that there will be too many points in this game. I would go more towards an under. Neither team's playing very fast lately. Neither team's offense has been very great. And Phoenix, they've shown they can play defense. I think they'll get up for it tonight. And Detroit's defense has been better than their offense. So I'll go under the 214. And if you do like points in this game, I probably would look for Jeremy Grant to do it.
Yeah, by the way, I shouldn't say 3 straight unders, 2 straight unders for Phoenix at home. So I agree with Skee with the under look in this game. And the one over was a 120-112 overtime loss to Denver. And that game maybe doesn't go over without overtime. So you have to factor that in mind. So I agree with the under look as well. And then Phoenix is playing better defense because they didn't like it the way they played at that end of the floor against the Pelicans either, and that loss the other night. Conor, what's your thoughts here with Detroit, Phoenix?
Yeah, I think the number's kind of right on, like Skee said. I took the Pistons against the Jazz, and they pushed, man. That was nail-biter. They were down by 20. They got to push for me. But like we talked about then, I just don't like them as a dog much away from home. They're just not very good, and they've lost by this number around 8 or more all year, on the road. So it's right there. I lean the Suns. I haven't bet it yet. I might get there at 7.5. I even see a couple 8s. So I don't know. It's Suns or pass for me. And yeah, I'm with you guys. I'd lean a little bit towards the under. Suns have been a pretty good under team, especially at home.
All right, we got the nightcap here, which is the back half of the ESPN doubleheader. Boston, LA Clippers. We've got the Clippers 6.5-point home favorites. Total 221 down to 219 here in this game. A fascinating one between these two teams. The Boston Celtics. Yeah, I took them. I did. And I said I probably would at the end of Wednesday's show against Sacramento and just fell short in that one. But did also take the over, and it was close, but it got there thanks to a little flurry late in that game again with the Celtics and the Kings the other night. Amazing.
They scored a lot. Those last few. I had the over too. I was like, ping pong. Thank God. That's
happened a lot, Conor, in these last couple days. There's just ask Portland, Philly people that had the over or under in that game last night.
Yes.
That was insane at the end. There's influx of scoring. Indiana, Milwaukee. That game got over because there was a ton of points in the last few minutes. Philly, Charlotte the other night, same thing. I mean, you better start thinking about betting some live overs in the last 3 minutes of this game. It just seems like these points are just coming with ease late in these games, and it happened the other night. We'll see how this goes here for the LA Clippers. They are obviously coming off that huge game against Brooklyn the other night. Back and forth it went. Very fun and exciting basketball game. Clippers fall short. 124-120. Actually, they played after that the same night. So this is going to be 3 games in 4 nights for the Clippers. At Brooklyn, at Cleveland. Now you're back home going to the West Coast to play here at Staples against Boston. So you better believe this is a little bit of a tricky scheduling spot here for the Clippers. It's not just coming back home off the road. It's playing 3 games in 4 days with travel between games. You had the Brooklyn game, you had the Cleveland game, and now you've got this one here at home against the Celtics. So something to be aware of. Patrick Beverley, of course, he's still out indefinitely for this Clippers team. Other than that, though, they remain fully healthy. But here we go again with Pat Beverley. It's like clockwork. I remember we did shows. We talked about this in the bubble last year. Clippers were just an over machine without Patrick Beverley. It's happening again. It's like clockwork. Look at the Clipper games. Last 5 games, all of them without Beverley. 4-1 to the over. It's all of a sudden that this team can transform from an under team to an over team without one guy. And that's exactly what we've seen here with Beverley. And it happened in the playoffs last year. I remember the Dallas series. Whenever Beverley was out in that series, I'm like, bet this thing over the total. And it cashed. And we've seen 4 or 5 overs now for the Clippers, all with Beverley sidelined. It's happening again. And you take away probably one of your best defenders on the floor. That's what's going to happen. And we've seen that here with the Clippers trending over once again with no Patrick Beverley on the floor. Boston, they've got some injury concerns as well going into this game. We've got Jaylen Brown questionable with a left knee injury. We're waiting to see his status. I'm definitely.
He got ruled out.
He's out?
Yeah.
Okay, that would explain then why the numbers come back up then, because we've seen like a back and forth going. We saw Clippers up 5 up to 6.5. Then it went back down to 5.5 for a bit. And now it's back up to 6.5 and even some 7s. So no Jaylen Brown here for Boston. Nevertheless, that's unfortunate, but I still lean Celtics. I think it's still a pretty decent spot for them. I'd like it more with Brown because I was waiting on that news. And certainly I'm not betting a Patrick Beverley-less Clipper team under the total. So I was leaning over here as well. But, you take out Brown, and that's a big part of your offense and a big part of your scoring.
He's having a big year. Yeah.
Against the Clippers, who now can focus a lot of their attention now on Jason Tatum, and that's the concern. If you like Celtics and over, like I do in this game, I like both of those from a side and total standpoint. You're going to have to hope Jason Tatum goes crazy, and you're going to have to hope that in a good way, in terms of scoring a lot. And you're going to have to hope Kemba Walker, who's trying to work his way back, who's been up and down so far since he's been back in the lineup for the Celtics, can find his offensive stroke as well. So again, I lean Celtics and over. I'm still going to have to mull this one over, but because that's what I was leaning with from a side and total standpoint. I still lean in that direction, but certainly no Jaylen Brown hurts the cause for the Boston side going into this one. Skee, what's your thoughts here? Celtics and Clippers.
As far as the over goes, I still would probably go with the over. You're going to miss a lot of points with Jaylen Brown. You're going to miss defense too. But like you said, with no Patrick Beverley, maybe Kemba can get right in this game. They have him. They have Pritchard back. I have a slight lean to the over. And as far as the side, it's a flat spot for the Clippers, or it should be. Maybe it's not so flat after they lost to the Nets, but they've been on a 5 or more game road trip. Teams in that situation, 13, 22, and 1 against the spread. Celtics, I have the line more around 5. Even without Brown, I think they can still keep it close. So that's the way that I'll play it.
All right, there we go. Still leaning Celtics and over. Both Skee and I liking the Celtics and the over. Like I say, I'll probably get involved, but maybe just keep it small with the unknowns with Brown out. Again, Walker lights it up, which he's capable of. We know he's got it in him. It's been, and going back to the playoffs and the bubble, he had some rough games there down the stretch in the East Final against Miami. No question about it. But we know he's got it, the ability to take over a game, get his shot, lift the team up when they're shorthanded. Hopefully he can do that tonight for someone like me that's leaning toward Boston and the over. Conor, what do you think here? Boston and the Clippers.
It's hard to ignore, like you said, with Beverley out, the Clipper overs, because when he's in there this year, they played well defensively, and had a lot of unders. I lean towards the over too. And Brown's out, it hurts it. But you got Tatum. You got Tatum, and they have enough, I think, around it with Kemba. He's at least, if he was out too, that'd be a big deal because Smart's out as well. But I still lean the Celtics. I think it's a tough spot. You guys are kind of talking about, Clippers flying back home and got to take the Celtics, who have been just probably waiting in LA. So I lean the Celtics at 6.5. It's just too many, I think, in this spot. Clippers have been playing good basketball, but they might win tonight. But I think it's a good one thing about the Celtics games. They've been tight. Good team. Like they lost to the Lakers by 1. They've been playing well against better teams. They always seem to be in the game. It's always 3, 4. They haven't been blown out too much all year. So I got to lean with the points too and towards the over.
All right, leaning toward Boston, and the over. And that's the thing about Smart. I failed to mention that Marcus Smart being out. Yeah, he's a big 3-point weapon, but he's also a plus defender too. So you could say, it takes away 3-point shooting. It takes away defensively quite a bit too for Boston. So that's why I still think we might see points here in this game. And again, whenever Patrick Beverley's out, that's an automatic. I circle the over in a Clipper game when I don't see him playing. And it's been like amazing. It was 13-5 the last 18 games of last season in games with no Beverley to the over. 13-5 last year, and look what it's been in 5 games without him here, 4-1. So what's the combined mark? 17-6 over the total. Last 23, no Beverly for the LA Clippers. It's pretty amazing, actually. Just one player, and you're 17-6 to the over without him in the last 23. So good stat to keep in mind for future reference. The Beverly thing matters. All right, that's the Friday NBA card. Good stuff. We'll get to best bets in just a second. Connor, what are our sponsors saying to wrap up the week here?
Oh, everyone needs another book. Go to mybookie.ag, hit promo code PubSports. You get 50% off your debit or credit. You get 100% off the Bitcoin. Use the Bitcoin. You got to put a minimum of $100. So you put $100, you get $100. And that's it for today. And go to bulksupplements.com. We have them as well. Bulksupplements.com at promo code PubSports. Get 10% off your order. Get all the supplements, all the creatine, all that good stuff that you need to get jacked up in the weight room.
All right, good stuff. Best bet time. We're on an incredible red hot run with best bets. I am in college basketball with that show, but I need a slump buster here when it comes to the NBA best bets on this show. Skee, we'll start with you. What do you like best bet?
I'm gonna go. It's tough. I'm gonna go Detroit and Phoenix under the total. That's what I'm gonna go. I think Phoenix makes an effort to play better defense, and I think they'll play a slow-paced game.
All right, that's under 214.5 with Detroit and Phoenix for Skee Profits best bet on this Friday NBA card. Conor, what are you going with for best bet?
Yeah, that one's just happened too much. I think give me the Pacers. I know Pelicans are playing better, but they're back home. Just lay the short number to win, -1. Give me the Pacers to win it.
All right, Pacers to win it. We'll give you the money line, which is around -120 in this game. So there's your money line price, with Indiana. That way you don't have to worry about the 1-point win. If they win by one, you'll get one. Yeah. So Indiana money line -120 against New Orleans for Connor Mack with his best bet. And I am going to go with I'm looking at either the Raptor net over or Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Chicago. I'm going to go I think Orlando is looking hopeless right now. I mean, it's not a world beater Raptor team that just completely beat them up by double digits in back-to-back games. Things are just not going well for this Magic team. They are in a massive slump. One thing about the Bulls is when they lose and then they go on the road, they've been pretty darn good. And against teams that, are worse than them or on their level, they can step down in class and win games like this. You're not laying a huge number. It's 2.5. I'm actually going to go money line here. It's -140 in that range with the Bulls on the money line. It's -139 at Bet Online. So in that -140 range, I don't want to have to worry about, they win by 1 or they win by 2, I lose. That's why I like the money line option here. So Chicago for me, -140 against Orlando. That is going to be my best bet for the Friday NBA closing time show. And that'll wrap things up. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We've got over 100 live viewers. We appreciate it. Great interaction in the chat. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Connor and I are back with college basketball. The closing time show tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on Saturday to tee up the massive Saturday college basketball card. Skee, Connor, and I are back on Sunday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific with the NFL closing time show. It is our finale edition, our final thoughts for Super Bowl 55 before kickoff. So join us for that on Sunday. And, of course, the NBA show will return on Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. For Skee Profit and Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. Cash some tickets. We'll see you again next time right here on the NBA Closing Time Show on Pub Sports Radio.